There is an old truth that most people spend their whole lives running from, and it is this: the loudest people in the room are rarely the wisest ones in it. We live in a world that rewards noise. It rewards the person who speaks first, who reacts fastest, who has an opinion on everything before anyone else has finished their sentence. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that silence is not weakness. Silence is mastery. And the people who understand this, the truly wise ones, carry themselves very differently from everyone else. Think about the last time you watched someone with real presence walk into a room. They didn't need to announce themselves. They didn't need to prove anything. There was a stillness about them, a quiet confidence that spoke louder than any words could. That is not an accident. That is the result of years of learning what to say, what not to say, and more importantly, when silence itself is the answer. Beautiful people are not always good people. We learn this the hard way, usually more than once. But good people, the ones who are patient with the weak, respectful to the old, and honest even when it costs them something, they carry a kind of beauty that never fades with age. A face will wrinkle. A body will slow down. But a beautiful soul remains exactly what it always was. If you are lucky enough to meet someone like that in your life, do not let them go. And if you are trying to become someone like that yourself, know that it is built one small, unglamorous decision at a time. The decision to respect someone weaker than you, to admit when you are wrong, to help without expecting applause. Here is something worth sitting with for a moment. Nothing in this world is permanent, not even your troubles. Every problem you are carrying right now, no matter how heavy it feels, has an expiration date. Facing it head-on is not a punishment. It is the art of living. Every difficult moment brings a certain kind of pain, and every pain, if you let it, teaches you a lesson. And every lesson you actually absorb, not just survive, but absorb, changes who you are. This is why the people who have been through the most tend to be the calmest in a crisis. They have already learned that the storm always passes. If you want one piece of advice that will save you years of wasted energy, it is this: stop trying to repaint people once they have already shown you their true colors. Life will bring you enough pain on its own without you volunteering for more. Your only responsibility is to protect your own peace and go out and create joy where you can. You cannot control what other people do. You cannot control the rain falling, the traffic building up, or the way someone chooses to treat you. What you can control is your response. Focus all your energy there and let the rest go. There is a particular kind of ignorance that behaves exactly like a sleeping beast. It is fine until someone decides to poke it, and then it wakes up angry. If you find yourself wanting to change someone else's mind, someone who has clearly made peace with their own ignorance, save your breath. The only person you can truly change is yourself. And ironically, that is also the only change that ever actually moves your life forward. Let this sink in. You were not born a winner, and you were not born a loser either. You were born a chooser. Every single day since your first breath, you have been choosing who you become. That is either the most terrifying sentence you'll hear today or the most liberating one, depending entirely on how you decide to use it. Before you close your eyes tonight, try something simple. Forgive everyone who wronged you today, even in small ways, and let your heart rest clean. You will sleep better than you have in weeks. Trust your instincts. They are not random impulses. They are quiet messages your soul sends you before your logical mind even catches up. And guard your mind against negative thinking the way you would guard your house against a fire, because negative thoughts do not stay small. They spread like weeds, choking out the confidence you have spent years building. Notice this the next time you are outside. A seed grows into a tree without making a single sound. But when that same tree eventually falls, the noise is enormous. Destruction is always loud. Creation is almost always silent. This is why the people doing the most meaningful work in the world rarely make the most noise about it. If you are ever tempted to feel like you are losing everything, Remember that trees lose every single leaf they have every single year, and yet they are still standing tall, patiently waiting for spring to come back around. You are allowed to have a season like that too. A healthy man carries 100 different wishes on his shoulders without even noticing the weight. A sick man has exactly one. Sit with that thought before you complain about your Monday. And if you truly want to end most of your problems overnight, there is a strange but proven trick. Stop thinking about them so obsessively. Half the suffering we carry is not caused by our circumstances. It is caused by replaying those circumstances in our heads on an endless loop. A person walking with real purpose does not need a crowd cheering them on from the sidelines. They already know exactly where they are headed, and that quiet certainty is usually mistaken for arrogance by people who have never felt it themselves. You are allowed to carry your own problems privately. You are allowed to smile even when your lips know something your heart hasn't told anyone. In fact, the mirror is often the most honest friend you will ever have. It has seen you cry more times than anyone else, and it has never once laughed at you for it. There will always be people who spread rumors about you, and there will always be people foolish enough to repeat them without checking if they're true. Do not waste your limited time on earth trying to correct every single one of them. Some of the wisest people who ever lived understood a very simple division in human nature. There are givers and there are takers. Takers might eat a little better in the short term, but givers sleep better every single night of their lives, and that peace is worth infinitely more than any material gain. Take risks, real ones. If you win, you earn the right to lead others. If you lose, you earn something arguably more valuable, the wisdom to guide someone else away from the same mistake. No matter how kind, how honest, how careful you are, understand this now so it doesn't blindside you later. You will still be the villain in somebody's story. That is not a reflection of your character. It is simply the nature of human perception. Nobody in this world is entirely pure, and nobody is entirely perfect. If you insist on avoiding every person who has ever made a mistake, you will end up completely alone. Judge a little less. Love a little more. It costs you nothing and it changes everything. You will also learn, usually the hard way, that people reveal their true colors the moment you stop being useful to them. Let that be a lesson, not a wound you carry forever. Study it, understand it, and move on lighter. Everyone around you has some talent, some skill buried inside them, but talent without strategy goes absolutely nowhere. Silence, on the other hand, will always outperform unnecessary drama, every single time. If you never sacrifice anything for the thing you actually want, that very thing you want eventually becomes the sacrifice itself, slipping quietly out of reach while you were busy protecting your comfort. And if you spend your entire life waiting for the perfect, storm-free moment to start living, you will die having never once felt the sunshine. Stop apologizing for making decisions about your own life simply because they inconvenience someone else. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. You never were. If you want to understand where your life is headed, study where it has already been. And understand this clearly. The moment you begin genuinely improving yourself, loneliness often becomes the entry fee. Some people around you simply won't grow at the same pace, and that gap will create distance whether you want it to or not. Walking that lonelier path teaches you more about yourself in a single year than a decade of comfortable company ever could. Here is something almost every ancient tradition agrees on in one form or another. If you are depressed, some part of you is living in the past. If you are anxious, some part of you is living in the future. But if you are truly at peace, it is because you have found a way to live fully in the present moment. A fool who knows he is a fool has already surpassed a fool who is convinced he is wise. That single moment of self-awareness is worth more than a library full of unearned confidence. Every step of this journey we call life brings you closer to wherever you are meant to end up, even the steps that feel like detours. Even the smallest, most forgettable moments are quietly teaching you something if you are paying attention. When one door of happiness closes on you, another one almost always opens somewhere nearby. But so many of us stand frozen, staring at the closed door with grief, that we never even notice the open one waiting patiently beside it. The only thing that will ever make you genuinely happy is making peace with exactly who you are today, right now, not some future improved version of yourself. Time does not change your life the way people assume it does. Time simply changes the expiry date stamped on your opportunities. The greatest act of kindness you can offer another human being is gently leading them from confusion toward clarity, from error toward truth. Keep your mind like a parachute. It only works when it stays open. And understand that the single most important decision you will make today has nothing to do with money, career, or status. It is simply the decision to be in a good mood, regardless of what the day throws at you. Distance, silence, and peace, three words that sound simple but carry enormous power. Distance frees you from noise and limitation. Silence lets you finally hear your own deepest wisdom, the kind that gets drowned out by everyday chatter. And peace gives you the clarity to move forward with genuine purpose instead of blind reaction. If you ever realize you boarded the wrong train in life, get off at the very next station you can. The longer you stay on out of stubbornness or fear, the more expensive the journey back becomes. And that principle applies to far more than just trains. It applies to relationships, careers, habits, and beliefs you have long outgrown. Never take the people who genuinely care about you for granted. One day you will look up and realize you were so busy chasing shiny stones that you let a real diamond walk quietly out of your life. Be careful, too, with anger, especially your own. The most dangerous kind of anger is the one that builds slowly inside a genuinely good heart, because when it finally erupts, it surprises everyone, including the person feeling it. Walk away from people who consistently put you down. Walk away from arguments that were never going to be resolved, no matter how many times you have them. Walk away from the exhausting effort of trying to earn approval from people who were never going to see your worth in the first place. The more consciously you walk away from what poisons your spirit, the healthier and lighter you will feel. And finally, understand this, because it may be the most freeing realization of all. Life gets remarkably easier the moment you stop fighting it. The rain is going to fall whether you complain about it or not. Traffic will exist whether you let it ruin your morning or not. People are going to act exactly how they choose to act, whether you spend your energy worrying about it or not. So focus every ounce of your attention on what you can actually change. Let go completely of what you cannot, and carry humility and patience with you wherever you go. Because in the end, those two qualities alone are what make a person truly powerful.